Hey guys, what's going on? It's T-Carp. All right, reading the Sasquatch Awareness Project today for the Scott Carpenter YouTube channel. We are going to be, we're going to talk about special warnings to parents concerning children, talking bears, hairy men. We're also going to talk about what women need to know, and this section is not suitable for younger children. So just kind of letting you know off the preface there. If you'd like to get in contact with me, you can at tcarp1616@yahoo.com. You can email me. Love you guys and thank you so much for everything you guys have done. Let's get into it. Again, reading the Sasquatch Awareness Project. Now this is a special warning again to parents concerning children if you're going to be taking them out. The Sasquatch and other cryptids take special interest in both women and children. Dave Pilates found throughout statistical work that 90% of full-bodied daylight sightings that are reported come from women. Interesting note. Also, note that the majority of those women were on their monthly cycle when the encounter happens. Sasquatch are especially drawn to children and have been known to allow their young to play with children that are unsupervised by an adult. The children also appear to be able to sense when the Sasquatch are in the area. Children have witnessed and or have been spoken to by Sasquatch in the presence of adults or parents standing near them. The alarming fact is that adults and parents never see or hear the Sasquatch. Only the children can see and hear them. Young juvenile Sasquatch have been known to make attempts to entice children into the woods to go play with them. Again, just a very, very kind of somber thing to think about. It just kind of adds that different area of paranormal to the Bigfoot Sasquatch phenomenon. That children can see and kind of hear these things, but you know, we adults can't. That's just, it's very, very interesting. Talking bears and hairy men. Children do not have a reference point for the Sasquatch. It is not a creature that they are taught exists. Therefore, when a child encounters a Sasquatch, they use the only reference point they have. These references can be bears, monkeys, apes, or sometimes hairy men. The parent or guardian should take notice if a child under their care talks about or mentions talking bears in the woods, bears walking on 2 feet, bears with white/gray round faces, hairy men, monkey men, talking apes, etc. The child should be taken seriously and questioned thoroughly, with questions being age appropriate. So don't just push it off to the child's imagination. There could be some things behind it, could be some real things. The following cannot be emphasized enough. Most often, children are first approached by the Sasquatch. They may be the only one that sees the Sasquatch. Some of the more common scenarios are peeking only in the window of the child or the child's bedroom, the curious child looking out the window at the Sasquatch in the woodline. Child can see a Sasquatch in the edge of the woodline or heavy foliage watching them play. While parents are distracted with outdoor activities, the child will notice a Sasquatch watching. With children, one should be vigilant and aware of the surroundings at all times. This is extremely important when one of the lives in rural ranch wilderness, or one lives, in rural ranch wilderness or farm settings. In my opinion, extra attention should be paid to a child if they mention odd, strange, or out of the ordinary occurrences that happen around them. Do not ignore their concerns and write off the stories to imagination, attention-seeking, or misidentification. Educate your children with age-appropriate information concerning the Sasquatch. Give them stern warnings to never trust or go near the creatures. That if anything like this is seen or heard, go directly to an adult and tell them. I would be remiss if I did not mention dogs. In my opinion, every child should have a dog. Period. A loyal, loving dog will protect, warn, and even give its life for a child. If such dog growing up in rural East Tennessee, her dad says, I had such a dog growing up in rural East Tennessee. We were raised together, and I suggest if you live in rural areas on a farm or ranch on the edge of a large state/federal parks or forest lands, get a puppy for your child when they are young. The dog will go everywhere with your child or children as they grow up, and be vigilant guard against dangers of all kinds. Teach your children to trust and follow the dog's instincts when it grows or attempts to get the children to leave an area. The dog is truly a man's best friend, or in this case, your child's best protection. The dog will sense a Sasquatch long before you or the child, and will let you know. Along with sensing a Sasquatch, a dog will be able to sniff out other dangers, including snakes and other predators. Finally, in my opinion, if one lives in bear or cougar country, dog is a must. So that is an interesting thing to think about, is like, if you live out in the country, especially if you're having issues with Sasquatch, or just, again, live out in a rural area, having a dog, if you got kids, man, get you a dog. I've got my 2 dogs passed away when Dad, honestly, like a month or 2 before, and then like 2 weeks after, I had another dog pass away, like after Dad died. And we got us another dog, and man, I'll tell you what, I agree. Yes, it's a lot of responsibility, but that dog, I'll protect you with its life. And man, they just know. That's such a good insight by Dad. Now, again, this one, if you've got little ears that watch these videos, you need to go ahead and put it out, because this section is not suitable for young children. All right, here we go. This is what women need to know. This subject matter is uncomfortable and is not suitable for younger children. Adults, please read this chapter before sharing it with your children to determine if it's age appropriate. This is sensitive material, in my opinion. However, it does need to be addressed due to the frequency in which it has been reported directly to my father. All right. The following are 2 extremely poignant encounters that women have had with the Sasquatch beings. These are just 2 out of many that have been reported to me. They are shocking, but I think it critically important to give you the truth concerning the Sasquatch, the complete truth. In the fall of 2011, I was contacted by a woman who had just moved into a farmhouse in a rural area with her young son and her mother. She told me that after being in the house for about a month, she looked out the back door and saw her mother on the covered porch waving at something across an open field behind the house. She stepped out on the porch, then asked her mother, "What are you waving at?" Her mother pointed to a large black figure standing on the edge of the woods across a 20-acre field. Her mother started waving once more, prompting the dark figure to wave back for a few seconds. Then, stepping back into the woodline, it disappeared. The woman wanted some advice. Accordingly, I warned her about the Bigfoot, telling her to be careful because no adult male was living in her house. She was excited, completely enthralled by the prospect of having these creatures living so close, with interest in her family. I told her to call me anytime she had questions or concerns. In the late summer of the following year, I received another call from the same woman. Extremely excited, the woman told me about her, along with her mother, sitting on the back porch, watching the glowing eyes, peering through the corn stalks, explaining that a lease was granted to a local farmer, and the corn was planted in this field. When the corn matured, reaching approximately 6 feet in height, the Bigfoot started coming to the edge of the corn to observe her family. These glowing eyes were occasionally visible, along with the dark shadows moving around in the corn during the night. The edge of the field was approximately 100 feet from the back of the house. A short time later, I received a panicked phone call from the woman approximately 1 hour after dark. Extremely distraught, the woman reported that she had experienced an intimately close encounter with not one, but 2 Bigfoot. Calming her down, I asked her what happened, and she told me the following. It had just turned dark, and I was washing dishes in the kitchen when I heard the wind chime began to clang very loudly and continuously. The wind chime is located on the right side of the covered back porch if you are facing the house from the rear. I flipped on the back porch light that was beside the door, then stepped out to see what was causing all the racket. When I stepped outside and looked to my left, there was a huge black Bigfoot standing beside the porch. It had to be at least 8 feet, maybe larger, facing the front of my house. He had his left hand holding the wind chimes and shaking it. He never looked at me. He just faced forward and continued to shake the wind chimes. Before I knew it, before I knew what was going on, I saw movement out of the corner of my eye to my right. I looked, walking slowly toward me, just a few feet off into the yard. It was light brown colored Bigfoot. He never looked at me, just kept walking slowly. No, he was strutting past me. When he was directly in front of me, I saw his penis was hard and fully erect. I was stunned and scared to death. I jumped back, grabbed the door, trying to open it to go back in. But he never once made a move at me. He just kept walking, never looked once at me. He went the length of the porch around the outside of the black one. Once he passed the black one let go of the wind chimes and walked away around the corner of the house, following the brown one. I had no idea this could happen in a million years. I am scared. Very scared. Questioning her concerning the experience, I inquired about the hair of the brown Bigfoot. She responded, about a foot shorter than the black one, but still huge, very thick chest and arms. The woman then inquired of me how to force them to leave. She exclaimed, I want them gone. I mean, gone now. I suggested the installment of a bright motion sensor lights on the corners of the home, including the purchase of some low-cost trail cameras. She was instructed to mount the trail cameras on the back of the house facing toward the corn. It has been my experience that the motion sensor lights, along with trail cameras, discourage the Bigfoot from approaching. I suggest the purchase of a gun, request the farmers harvest the corn, and most importantly, that she stops all interaction with Bigfoot. I informed her that this should stop the unwanted activity, but if it did not, she could call me anytime she had an issue. Having received no further communications from the woman, I must assume my suggestions were successful. Another shocking Bigfoot encounter, consisting of a sexual component, occurring in the southwest United States. A young woman had 2 disturbing experiences with the Bigfoot. The woman, seeking Bigfoot research advice, reached out to me via social media. She had been going out into the wilderness alone, unharmed. This was extremely alarming. I was insistent that she start going out with a firearm along with a partner. She appeared to be mildly offended, but was gracious, promising to take my advice. Approximately a month later, the woman contacted me, telling a horrific story about being pursued by 2 Bigfoot. Against my advice, she had ventured out alone, unarmed, and she was sorry she did not take my advice. The experience disturbed her, making her extremely upset. She told me that while walking on a trail, that she noticed movement to her left in a natural drainage area. She stopped and started looking into that direction when a large, dark figure came into view, hopping from tree to tree as it moved toward her. When it was approximately 75 yards away, it stepped out into the opening, slowly walked up the hill towards her in full view. She described it as it walked, walked toward her. When it was approximately 75 yards away, it stepped out in the open, slowly walking up the hill toward her in full view. She described it as wide-shouldered, covered in dark black hair, about 8 to 10 feet tall. In shock, she watched it as it came closer. When the creature was approximately 30 yards away, she could see it was erect and huge. I could see its penis, and it was grossed out and scared. Or excuse me, it was grossed out and scarred. At this point, she turned and started running back up the trail toward her car. While running to her car, she turned back, noticing a second Sasquatch, previously unseen, was now in pursuit of her from the right of her position. This caused her to go into full panic run. Fortunately, the Sasquatch were content to let her escape, never gaining on her, instead appearing to escort her out of the woods. Again, this experience, she told me, I will never go into the woods alone again. In later conversations with the woman, she admitted to me that she and her husband were pursued by Bigfoot a few years ago when we were first married. Trying to convince their first child, she told me that, trying to conceive their first child, she told me that they were all hiking, they had a romantic moment in the woods, then after, they were followed by a Bigfoot. Here is what she told me about the encounter. We were trying to conceive our first child, and when we entered a very secluded area, I persuaded my husband to make love to me. After we finished, we put our clothes back on and headed down the trail. We had brought nothing with us, so we had a way to clean ourselves up after making love. Not long after that, we both heard heavy footsteps behind us, so we began hearing heavy grunts and sniffs. It was creepy, and we started walking faster. We came to a point not far from the parking area where the trail opened up, and you could see behind us pretty good. That is when I looked back and saw it. There was a large white Bigfoot standing at the edge of the trail not far behind us. He was tilting his head back and sniffing the air, snorting and grunting. He was tracking us. He could smell us from where we had made love. I know he could smell us. He was sniffing the air and grunting, and yes, he was aroused. It was very easy to see because he was not far behind us. I screamed, and my husband turned and saw the Bigfoot. For a second or two, I just stared in shock, and my husband grabbed my arm and yelled, "Let's get the hell out of here," and began running as fast as we could back to our car. We kept looking back, but the Bigfoot did not come out of the woods into the field to follow us. We got to the car and took off as fast as we could. I guess I should have told you I had seen Bigfoot before, but it was kinda sick or embarrassing. He was definitely smelling us, smelling me, and following us because of it. I give these two graphic examples to drive the points home that yes, it can happen to you, and for women to be especially cautious when venturing into the outdoors. Be more aware than when you are on your monthly cycles. Sasquatch, as well as other predators, can smell the presence of menstrual blood and the association of hormones. Always go with a partner or in pairs into the outdoors. In my research, these types of events happen to women who are usually alone. If allowed by law and you are proficient, carry a firearm. The Sasquatch seems to have the ability to sense that you are armed. And though the evidence is anecdotal, it seems to act as a deterrent for many. Be aware that the reproductive activity can be detected by Sasquatch. Take note of the area they are going to when you plan an outdoor activity. Check for Sasquatch activity in that area. If there is a high concentration of sightings in that area, consider if you are on your monthly cycle or before engaging in romantic activity in the outdoors. I know that was a little bit harsher, a little bit more graphic than we are used to, but it is to be noted that these are encounters with the Bigfoot that have happened, especially toward women. These are, eyewitness encounters that they've told Dad, and he's been able to put in this book. Guys, thank you so much for watching the Sasquatch Awareness Project. I hope you got something from this. Please like, subscribe, share the video with others. And if you need anything, again, you can contact me at tcarp1616@yahoo.com. Thank you, and God bless.